Welcome to Sound Advice with Phyllis Nichols. This podcast is for women and the men who love them, who are determined to make a difference in the world. You'll hear from other women who followed their own path to success, who are willing to share what they've learned along the way. Be ready to laugh, learn, and be inspired. Who knows, your story could be next. Your host, Phyllis Nichols, will make sure you see the possibilities in your own life, and even better, give you proven strategies to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Welcome to the Sound Advice Podcast. I'm Phyllis Nichols, your host, and I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm interviewing Carrie Wilkerson, also known as the Barefoot Executive. In case you don't know her, she is a best-selling author, an international speaker, an award-winning podcaster, and a sought-after radio guest. Carrie's been featured on CNN and Fox Business News, and she was named by Forbes as a small top business influencer. She's consulted with the marketing and launch teams of Dr. John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, Google Small Business, as well as other influential business leaders and business strategies and current trends. Carrie enjoys helping ordinary people live extraordinary lives, and she's genius at connecting with her audience. She truly is gracious when she shares her experiences, and I appreciate her what you see is what you get approach. Carrie really lives her truth. She comes from a place of authentic experience. She helps her clients build a business they need so they can live the life of their dreams, and she's an expert at helping connect the dots between your why and your do. I love the way she puts that. Carrie's style is fun, inspiring, and sometimes she can be the tough love coach you need. You can find her at carriewilkerson.com and on social media under Carrie Wilkerson as well. I'll have links on the website and a link to her book, The Barefoot Executive, on the Sound Advice Sales site and the podcast notes. Thanks again for joining us. I had a great time talking with Carrie, and I know you'll enjoy hearing her sound advice and strategies for winning in business and in life.
Thank you for joining us in the Sound Advice Podcast with Phyllis Nichols. We have a great guest today. On the line with me is Carrie Wilkerson of Barefoot Executive fame. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, how are you today, Phyllis?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here today. The first question that I always ask to start the podcast is to have you share a piece of sound advice that has really been meaningful to you in your life.
Okay, so at my age, that probably has evolved with every season, every age and stage of kids and my business. But I will say probably the most meaningful that I have to redirect myself on the most, but that I think everyone can relate to, is to be present. Wherever you are, be there. When you're working on your business, be present and be there. And don't be feeling guilty about the laundry or the house or the kids or anything that's not done. And when you're with your family or your friends, be there. And when you're in the garden or running or doing whatever feeds your spirit, be there. When we are not present and engaged with where we are, when everything bleeds together, there's never a break. There's never a mental line. There's never margin, and there's never a breath. So I think that's probably the best advice. And like I said, I have to repeat it to myself often. I have to remind myself to be present and not to be multitasking. But I think that's probably the most meaningful and the most impactful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's very good advice. I think it's something that a lot of people find challenging. Is there any strategy or technique that you use that helps you be present? I know that's something I struggle with as well, feeling like I need to sort of be doing a number of things sometimes. Is there something that you find that works well for you?
Oh yeah, when you're really trying to be off or be with your family or do your hobbies or exercise or whatever it is, seriously, leave the devices alone. Leave it in the car, leave it in your purse, and I know that sounds silly, but the checking the one quick email or looking up your Facebook ad stats or, it all pulls you into a rabbit hole. And the kids or your friends don't care if it's important. They want to be what's important right then. And, it's about mindfulness, really. And so if we can put the devices aside for that time, which I demand that of my kids too. Let's put the devices away so you can focus on me. So then it's not fair for me to sit there and have mine if they are having to put theirs away and focus. So that's one thing. The other thing, and this will sound too easy, Phyllis, and that's to schedule it. Schedule your segmented time. Multitasking, the teaching of multitasking and our attempts at multitasking have sucked us into this crazy, busy overlappedness all the time, all those made-up words I just used. And so if we schedule, this is going to be exercise, this is going to be commute time with the kids, this is going to be whatever it is, if you schedule it, then you give yourself permission to put the other stuff aside. Here's an example, and I do this with my clients a lot and also with myself. I was talking to a colleague this morning, and I said, I'm really excited about XYZ project, but the fact is I'm not giving it any mental energy or writing any notes on it or starting to plan it or think about it until quarter 2. April 1, I give myself permission to start focusing on that, putting some energy towards that. Right now, I am really, really focused on the things I have scheduled for quarter 1. So as entrepreneurs and as women especially, our brains are so busy that sometimes you have to pull it out of your brain, put it on paper, and then put it on the calendar for another day. So give yourself permission. Go Scarlett O'Hara with it. Think about it tomorrow. Think about it next month. Think about it when you need to think about it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be right now. Right now, we need to focus on what's moving us towards our goals most quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's terrific. And I appreciate you being so candid. I know that you're super busy, and all of us are, but is there a scheduling, and I'm a big fan of scheduling and lists and those kinds of things as well, which really kind of help me stay on track. Is there a process that you use when you're scheduling, or do you sort of fill it in by priority? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so I started this probably in 1998, and yes, I did just say 19. I am that old. I'll be 44 this year around this trip around the sun, my next birthday. And when my older two were little bitty, I started on Sunday night scheduling for the week. Now, obviously, I keep a month-long calendar and an ongoing calendar, but Sunday night I was able to say when are lessons, when is carpool, when is church, when are doctor's appointments. For those of you that don't know my story, my older two are adopted siblings, and they were toddlers, and they had a lot of therapy appointments and a lot of doctor's appointments right away. And so I literally had to put, those were my big rocks in the jar at that point of my life. I had to put those in first because those were not going to wait. And then I had to schedule around that. So I print out like a spreadsheet and for the week, and I'll highlight what has to go where so that I know where my pockets of time are, so that I know where I can fit in the business activity or fit in the personal study or personal reading or whatever that looks like. Even if you have a TV show, I mean, I'm not totally anti-TV. If you have a TV show, put it on the schedule so that you know, number one, how much time you're spending doing that, and number two, that you don't plan over it. So I like to plan on Sunday night so I get kind of a snapshot for the week, and also so that I can see if I've overscheduled myself. If there's no margin on Sunday night, you're not giving yourself any time for emergencies to come up, for things to be rescheduled, for things for life to happen, for a kid to be sick, for, you have to give yourself some margin for the emergencies. The people that are in constant crisis are the ones that never give themselves margin. So I think it's a balance of scheduling and also leaving some room for flow. And then I do have things on my Google Calendar, online so that I can look it up in my phone. But my virtual assistant really doesn't like me to put my own things on my calendar because I'm not great with all the time zones and I'm not great with looking at the bigger picture. So I do tend to just send her an email. I'll audio to text if I'm driving. I'll audio to email her, and I'll say, Karen, please schedule a dance recital, blah, 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 so that she can give me a heads up when things are getting too busy, or are you sure you're doing a business trip that week? Katie has a dance recital and Lily has a tumble showcase, those kind of things. So I do have her help me some, but that helps. I use a call scheduler for my clients so that they can have access to my appointment calendar. They don't have access to my whole calendar. They have access to my appointment calendar. I use Schedule Once for that, Schedule ONCE for that. So if you do a lot of client work or book appointments, that just kind of takes the middleman out. I set up my prearranged client blocks. They go in and claim it. It sends them an email. It sends them a reminder. It sends me a reminder, and I know, where to be when, and that kind of protects those times. But that's kind of what I do. And then I'm a little old school, so I print out about 3 months of my Gmail calendar at a time and carry it around in my journal with me and in my purse so that I can handwrite notes on it, so that I can, I can analog. I have to have some analog too, because digital stuff slips by me. So this helps me know if a kid says, hey, so-and-so's planning a slumber party on such and such a date, I can whip out that calendar, see what it looks like. Then I'll send the note to, make sure and put it on the digital calendar later. It also helps me look at, interviews at a glance, launches, when things are going on sale as far as, in my own business and that kind of thing. So it just helps me. So I guess I have a backup system for my backup system. I do not operate 100% digitally. I could, but to me, I think it's the same with money. Time is such a spendable resource, and when we operate with just a digital debit card with our time, it's not as valuable when we see it in our hands, when we actually have to write things on it, when we actually see the days disappear like we do cash out of our wallet. I think it becomes more tangible to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that. I do a little bit like you do. I'm a real fan of pen and paper and those sorts of things, but scheduling, and I've learned, I'm sure you do this too with your client time, but I've sort of learned to block activities. For example, I only do podcast recordings on Tuesdays, because it's an activity that's really challenging to stop and start, and that sort of thing.
Right. So, that's absolutely, I teach that a lot, is blocking and batching like the pioneer women did, right? They made all their bread on the same day. They did all their laundry on the same day. And I started that actually on accident when my older two were little. They're now 20 and 18. So my older two, they were the babies when I started. I also have an 8 and 11-year-old now. So we're all over the map over here. But I started doing Tuesdays and Thursdays for calls and interviews and income-producing time when they were little. And why is that? Well, that's because that's when they were in Mother's Day Out, was Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 2. That was my only work time that I had. So then after they went to regular school, I thought, well, Tuesday, Thursday really is a good flow for me. Let's stick with that. So I tend to do all my client work before noon because my energy is best before noon, and I tend to do Tuesdays and Thursdays for interviews, for those kind of things, because now my younger two are in a charter school, and they only attend Tuesday and Thursday, and I homeschool Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Tuesday and Thursday is still my primary work day. I know. So blocking and batching is huge and important. I tend to do videos Sunday afternoon. Why is that? Well, because I'm already cute for church. So I come home, I already have makeup and hair and clothes, and I'm
you're
not
cute all the time.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do dress every day. I do, but I don't do video. Video makeup is a little different. Everybody knows, video makeup is a little different. But, when you look at those natural flows of things, don't work against your energy. Work with your energy and work with your schedule, and I think your flow will be much better. You have a lot less resistance, in my opinion.
That's terrific input, and I love part of that, too, is just sort of being aware and listening to yourself and paying attention to, things like your energy level and those sorts of things. I think a lot of times there's an instinct or a desire to sort of want to power through, and I think it might not always be serving us the best.
Right. I totally agree. And when I found that when I can do interviews afternoon and my energy is fine because you're thinking at a different level than when you're working on client business. But I found that when I was working with clients in the afternoon, my mind was a little slower. I was more distracted from the other things that had already happened that day and worried about going to pick up the kids on time, those kind of things. So interviews are better for me typically in the afternoon if I need to. Client work in the morning. Writing, of course, is better for me typically at first thing in the morning or last thing at night because I'm a storyteller. So at nighttime I have a lot more stories of things that have happened in the day that are still fresh. So, yeah, I think paying attention to your energy is really smart. Yes, I'm a huge advocate of pushing through resistance, meaning I don't want to get up and get dressed. Well, come on, sister, suck it up. We were born cute, not rich, so we got to get up. We got to get up and get the job done. We need to power through PMS. We need to power through what we don't want to do. We need to power through fear. Yes, yes, yes. But that being said, we can work with our natural energy. And if you don't have any natural energy, you've got to figure that out first. You've got to figure out what you're fueling your body with, when you're resting, what you're eating, what kind of vitamins you're taking, when you need to time your supplements. This is something I'm even teaching my college kid. She gets in that big cycle of a week of gray time. And I'm trying to teach her, when you're cycling or when it's January, for Pete's sake, and you're in the snow and the gray, some of that is really natural physiologically. So what do? You turn on the lamps, you take extra vitamin D, you drink citrusy things, you double up on your water, and you take extra vitamin D. You can hack your physiology a little bit, but then also know where to work within it naturally. As women, we're so self-aware, or we should be so self-aware that we can hack and push through without forcing it. I think maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, that's terrific insight. And before we go, I want to just touch base. You mentioned writing, and I'm a fan of your writing. I've read your book and enjoyed it, and there will be a link for people if they haven't done that yet. They should. But how did you fit writing in? I'm so curious to know because I know how busy you are. Where did you fit writing a book into all of the activities that you're doing?
Well, writing is its own thing, and when you're writing as well as running a business, it's hard. It's a challenge. I never would have said it was as big of a deal as it was, and I'll just be honest that a lot of the big business authors, that's either their only thing is writing, or they have a ghost working with them. I mean, just bottom line, I had so many people say, "Oh, really? You're writing your own?" I mean, they just couldn't believe it, and it was a challenge. But I'll tell you my secret is that most of my book was taken from speaking the spoken word.
Okay.
So classes that I taught, speeches that I gave, audios that I did while I was doing other things, and then my mom is a transcriptionist, so she literally types every word that comes out of my mouth, bless her heart. She did the only parts of the book that I sat down and typed were the intro and the closing. Everything else came from words that I said that then we had them transcribed, and then we manipulated them, massaged them, so to speak. I really hate that writing term, but it is what it is. So that's how I did The Barefoot Executive. Now, my next book is really coming more from the pen, so to speak, and it will be compiled of things you see on Facebook that I write that resonate with people, things that I put on my blog. Those are really like test chapters and test topics that then I will pull those and flesh those out a little more. So the next one really is straight from heart to page instead of the how-to, the business stuff. And how will I get that done? That will be setting aside time every morning in front of the typewriter, so to speak. I mean, that will really just be a disciplined time. It will be something that I have to do. Whereas last time I kind of fit it in, spoke it out, and then worked around it. This next time it really will just be part of my everyday.
Oh, wow. Well, that's great. Well, you'll have to let us know when that's going to be coming out. I'll look forward to it.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited about that one. It's going to be called The Resilience Factor, how to keep on keeping on when life isn't going as planned.
Oh, I love that. You know, I've been seeing the word resilience a lot lately. So that's very timely, I think, and I can't wait to see it. Thank you for spending time with us today. Really quickly before we go, if there's somebody who's listening, you've given us a lot of great information today, but if they're just sort of in a place where they'd really like to up their game a little bit and they're struggling with that, is there one little piece that you'd like to leave the audience with today?
I think that my hashtag is carry on, spelled like my name, and that really does have to go to resilience. I think so many times we tend to think, I'll either do it later, or why should I do that? Why me? I don't need to play a bigger game. I'm not equipped or worthy or qualified or whatever. And guys, if there's any gift that I can give you, I will just say, why not you? Why wouldn't it be you? Because you can resonate with your audience in a way nobody else can. I have a way of resonating with my audience in a way nobody else does. He and she and everyone that has an audience is because they're using their own unique style, their own unique experiences. That's why you were gifted those experiences, those children, those gifts, those talents, is so that you can resonate in and serve in that one way. So I would say, first and foremost, stop doubting yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, then you stay in the space of somebody like Phyllis or like me that will believe in you until you can believe in yourself.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I will definitely have links to all your information on the website.
Perfect.
And I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Carrie.
Thanks, Phyllis. Y'all have an amazing day.
You too.
Till next time, have fun, be you, and share your sound advice with the world. For more info and show notes, or to connect with Phyllis, go to soundadvicesales.com or on Facebook at Sound Advice Sales.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.